Many people, as well as I, have been guilty of falling into a fear of missing out when it comes to new characters, and it usually pans out by having super high or super low expectations of upcoming characters. One of these characters that many in the Genshin community are having a tough time evaluating pulling for is Haitham. At the moment, many are feeling as if this character is not worth their primo gem since they saw the leaks and witnessed the character essentially receiving a nerf with almost all of his stats being dropped from their initial values at the start of the Haitham beta test. Today, however, there won't be a pre-release discussion on this future character. Instead, I want to discuss why everyone in the Genshin community should stop having unrealistic expectations of characters that'll come out in the future, as they might find themselves more disappointed in many ways when the character drops live. Before I continue, my name is The Real A-Town, aka RGB Fox, and I ask that if you enjoyed this video to please consider subscribing to my channel. I've recently managed to get over 150 subscribers and a lot more engagement in my videos, and I honestly can't begin to describe how grateful I am to all of you who are supporting me right now. With that, I want to start the new year right and have another proper discussion, so let's get on with the video. So how did this all start? As I mentioned before, Haitham was leaked last month, and at first his stats looked incredible. Since then, many changes have resulted with not only his stats, but also with his A4 passive, and even his signature weapon, and to say that the community is disappointed about it is an understatement. As a result, many people are worried that Haitham is going to become a poor unit who lacks in damage and utility, and honestly, I wonder if they're thinking straight when I hear those complaints. For one, we have many instances of players who have hashed out that Ganyu was going to be a terrible unit back in 1.2 before her release, and the overall hate on her was astounding. Everything from her damage not being as good as melee units because she's a bow character, to her just being a unit designated for support, and even then, the community cried that you may or may not have to stack ridiculous amount of energy recharge on her. Then I look at the whole Kazuha craze that happened in 1.6, where many people ignorantly claim that he's just a 5-star Sucrose, or that if you have a Venti, you don't need to pull on him, with what ensued after being that he was one of, if not the best characters at the time. Especially considering how in the early half of the Inazuma patch, many enemies such as the Kairagis, the Spectres, the new Ruin enemies, and I believe even the Wolfhounds had resistance to the crowd control Venti had. Kazuha ended up having an option over Venti, which was to be able to group units like the Kairagi and the other samurai, and have his burst affect all of those enemies based on where he stood at, which offered a lot of damage through his swirls. On top of that, he ended up being able to give a substantial damage boost to units that coincide with the element he swirled, as well as better grouping compared to Sucrose. In many instances, this is a character that many claimed was skippable. Yet after his initial release was gone, many players who avoided him dreamed of the day that he'd be able to be available again so that they could pull in his banner, although that did take like over a year. But hell, I think at the time of making this video, I use him at every opportunity I can because in my opinion, he is that valuable. So what can I determine with this current wave of disappointment with Haitham? Well, honestly, I'd say don't be too worried. Honestly, don't forget what you're looking at. A Dendro unit who can infuse himself with Dendro to deal Dendro damage over a period of time with access to all the teams someone like Nahida has access to, and a way to increase his personal damage with the Quicken Aura. Also be sure to remember that Dendro is simply a broken element on its own. I mean, look at Dendro main character, a unit who, despite having a lack of personal damage, is still valuable because they're a unit that has access to Dendro application and enable teams such as Hyperbloom, Burgeon, and more. I too have been responsible for not only being underwhelmed by a unit before their official release, but also being overwhelmed and having high expectations for a unit that isn't even live yet. It happens. But as much as we like to get proven right, we also love to be proven wrong. The fact of the matter is, when it's a unit that we love lore-wise or design-wise, we don't want them to perform badly. At that point, I'd say, with no disrespect on my part, keep those thoughts to yourself. It can become a burden on not only your own mental health, but also to others. The amount of doom posting I've seen on Twitter is astonishing, and I cannot believe that in an age where people have experienced this type of fear before, they are still guilt-tripping themselves into feeling this way. I for one don't care that he got nerfed. I can wait patiently and be comfortable knowing that whether or not he'll be great is going to be answered when he is released in the 3.4 patch. Until then, I urge you to be patient, have faith, and remember, Don't listen to what other people say about a unit who isn't even released yet. You never know when they'll be pleasantly surprised. Well, with that, I end this discussion. What do you guys think? Am I just overreacting here, or do I have a point? I mean, I've seen this happen time and time again. I remember when people were downplaying Raiden's viability back in 2.1, and when people overhyped units such as Nilo or Sinnoh here recently in the 3.1 patch. The fact is that this might never end. Honestly, that's okay. I simply wanted to throw in my 2 cents in there because I can't keep things to myself to save my life. I hope you guys ended up enjoying this discussion, and if so, do consider subscribing. With the new year on the way, I hope that we will hit 500 subscribers by the summer, and the way that my channel has been growing recently, that goal doesn't seem too far-fetched. I also hope that the 3.4 patch shows us something great about Haitham. Also consider getting in the conversation and letting me know how you feel about speculations of characters that get leaked. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This has been RGB Fox, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.